Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped, something sick.
I wasn't expecting that
either. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny, I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things. Of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
Okay. So, you mentioned overwhelmed exile. Are there any other parts that you want to bring up or discuss? Or get to know?
There are lots of parts that I want to get to at some point. I think the exile and whoever's protecting it are going to be the key ones tonight, but I am also super curious to get into I know that one of the big studies that Richard Schwartz always mentions is into RA patients, and I also have an autoimmune disorder, and so I'm very curious about what might be going on there, and if I can talk to anybody about that.
Yeah.
So that's also something I've been thinking about. But so yeah, I have a lot of different interests with parts to work on. But since we've already started on this one and it affects my life so much, I want to keep going on that.
Great plan.
Cool.
All right. So this was the exile that we were talking with last time. And it was a toddler.
Yeah. It feels very young, and I've worked with it a number of times the past, since we saw each other last, and I can definitely connect with it up to a point, and it enjoys my company. It's glad, it kind of calms down a little bit. But I can't really figure out what it wants. And it seems like it's possibly because it's so young. It doesn't speak English, I don't think. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't get it to say any words, really. It's just upset.
Right. Yeah, that can be a challenge. Okay. So you've worked with it a few times. That's awesome to hear. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's nice to connect with it. I just don't know how to help it. And obviously I have parts that get very stirred up about that. They're well, what are we going to do? How are we going to unburden it? How can we find out what it needs? And I just don't know the answer to that.
Okay. what are we going to do? How can we figure out what it needs? And dealing with the lack of communication.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see what comes up.
Sounds good.
If we try to go there.
Yeah, it's really omnipresent. Every time I look for it, I can feel it in there pretty much. And so I'm excited to imagine what my life would be like with it unburdened.
Great. Okay. So are you able to connect with it now, or at least see where it lives in or around your body?
I definitely feel it in my chest.
Okay. And how are you feeling towards it?
Concerned.
Yeah.
Say
more?
I want to help it. Don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
My concerned one that I named Jerry is just like, is this, can you really unburden your exiles? Like, sure, other people can do it, but like, can you, is it really going to happen? Like, he doesn't believe it.
Yeah. That all makes sense to me. I mean, especially if you haven't gone through that process and you might not have any evidence that you can unburden exiles.
Yeah. This part wants proof before it gets excited.
Okay. When there are parts or whatever saying, I don't know how to help it, does that ever feel or sound like it's coming from the exile itself? Is it saying you can't help me or you don't know how?
Well, it's certainly not always coming from the exile. But let me see. Well, it actually, when I first went earlier, before when I was making contact with it, there was a sort of repeating message of like, nothing helps. Nothing helps.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe if it was saying that, maybe it is verbal. It's hard to tell if it's talking or if I'm just interpreting its feelings. But
yeah, which would be, I mean, that would be what you would do if it wasn't talking. So that's fine. Okay. So nothing helps.
Yeah, nothing helps. But don't go away. But nothing helps.
Yeah, the don't go away is important.
Like a little kid, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't have the magic wand, the thing that helps all the exiles, but just from what I've seen is that they do know what they need. And so that's going to be kind of my guiding principle, and just trusting in that the more we can hear from it directly, the more it will be the authority on how to be helped. So
I agree.
We might need to help it and learn more about its feeling of nothing helps.
Yeah, I do think that it's slightly changed its tune since then to like, your attention helps me in the moment. But there's less of an idea of what helps unburden it.
Right. Okay. So can you contact it now and just let it know that it still has your attention and that you're still concerned and compassionate about wanting to help it?
Yeah, it's happy about that.
And these other protectors that have been around, are they settled and giving you permission to go forward?
Sort of, but there's definitely still one that, I guess it's the shame one, the one that doesn't want me to be cringy.
Right.
As soon as I felt that wave of emotion from the exile and and let the exile sort of blend its energy with me a little bit in like a healing way. The cringe one immediately countered that and was like, no, don't feel cringe feelings.
Okay. And are you speaking in present tense that's happening, or that was happening, or do you mean
well, it's what happened immediately when just now when I connected with the exile. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So if you can just ask the exile to hold on a moment while we turn towards this cringe cringe detector.
Yes.
Okay. So
cringe detector just thinks it's not safe to look weird, to look like a fool. And part of that is that I'm with you, but part of it is just always, even when I'm alone.
Okay. How are you feeling towards the cringe detector?
Concerned, because I fear that it won't change its tune. I feel like it won't let up, and we're going to spend the whole session working on it instead of getting to the exile.
Okay, well, let's make sure that we can be efficient.
Yeah.
So, and I say that, and I also want to say that we got to respect parts' spaces. So,
for sure. It takes however long it takes, but agenda part is in a slight mood over that.
Okay. We can welcome agenda part. Thank it. Thank you for looking out for your time, for my time, for so many things that matter. See if it'll soften back.
Well, it knows. It knows that its prodding will do no good. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then the concern or fear. Okay, that was the agenda part. Yeah, so now how are you feeling towards that cringe part?
Still a little bit of urgency, but let's see. Well, I know that I do feel like its fears make sense to me.
It's not safe to look weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they probably make sense to me because it blends with me a lot, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, maybe you can just, I don't know, how's the blended now? Does it feel like it's too close? Can you get some distance?
I'm not sure how to. Yeah, it's hard to imagine separating too much from this one. It's like the exo, it's always around.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's just hard to think of times when it doesn't pop up.
Yeah. Okay. And can we learn more about its fear, the looking weird, the looking like a fool?
Yeah. It has some kind of judgment of overwrought displays of emotion, like they're what's the word I'm looking for?
It made sense to me what you just said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. you might let it know that its concerns matter, and the more it will unblend, the more you'll be able to learn about it
Mm-hmm.
and help it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Think it unblended a little more just now.
Okay. So what's it trying to accomplish with how it works?
It's trying to keep me from looking stupid.
Right.
Because if you kind of lose your shit over something that turns out to be nothing, then you'll look like a fool. But if you don't lose your shit over something that did turn out to be losing your shit worthy, then there's no real punishment for that. So it's just safer to not in any case.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And what is the punishment?
Looking like a fool of some sort. Once you put that out into the world, like there's no taking it back. People will know that that's how you truly felt, and you can no longer manage that part of your image.
Right. Yeah, so there's that reputation. Yeah. And we know this part also shows up just in when you're all by yourself, right?
Yep, it does. Because there's still an audience watching of parts when I'm by myself. And there's still, if I know something about myself, then I'll still be thinking that I'm that person when I'm around other people. So.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, makes sense.
I think a lot of what our parts do, or what our brain is evolved to do, is to really hide some truths from ourselves, so that we're not thinking about them and giving ourselves away all the time. Yeah,
certainly.
And that can be really protective.
Yes. There's a fear that, what if I have this whole thing with this exile and I'm like crying and hugging it and everything, and then after that, absolutely nothing about my life changes, and I feel really stupid and wonder if I made it all up.
Yeah. Then what would be so bad about that?
Then I would have no barometer for what my emotions mean.
Wow. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to trust yourself and your own intuition and judgment.
Yeah, it'd be somebody who like freaks out over a placebo effect, basically.
Right. That's all real stuff too, right?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah. So can you see this part protecting you, and can you appreciate it? And show it that appreciation.
Yeah, I think it has protected me. Because I almost had an impulse just now to say, well, I appreciate its intent, but it hasn't been helpful. But that's not actually true. It has probably saved my ass a lot of time.
Yeah.
Because people are cruel sometimes.
Sure. And we don't want to get rid of it.
Yeah. It's a good thing to remember.
Right. It really doesn't need to change in any way. We just want for you to be able to get to know parts.
Yeah.
And that, to me, stop me if I'm talking too much, but
you're good.
by getting to know parts, you build the barometer.
Yeah.
Like if it stops you in doing that work, even all by yourself, then it seems like that would be counter to its purposes, or that would exacerbate that thing it's concerned about of not knowing yourself.
Yeah. If I don't know myself, then I'll react to things in ways that I can't predict because I don't know myself.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to say that to it.
Mm-hmm.
There's still some suspicion, I guess, because it doesn't really think that I agree with its agenda. It thinks that I'm trying to find reasons for it to step back, which I am.
Yeah. When you say agree with its agenda,
like it thinks I'm siding against it, which makes sense to me because there are parts that are that wish it would step back.
right, and parts that probably really don't like it, I'm assuming.
I think most of my parts recognize that it has a purpose, but they're also frustrated with it right now because right now it's kind of holding me back from certain things.
Okay. Well, see if you can ask all those parts to settle. See if they will.
I feel like this is what happens whenever I try to do the work, is that I ask them to step back and I get kind of like a tepid response. And then I find out almost immediately that they haven't really stepped back. And I just sort of end up at a loss for how to handle that.
Yeah. One idea is it's a kind of a percentage of self energy that we need to work with different parts.
Yeah.
And so, as long as there's a certain amount, then you can do the work. And a lot of parts, when they step back, they just take one step back and they just agree. They just agree for 10 minutes to let you put your toes in the water with other parts. And that's fine. That's
certainly how it feels to me. Yeah. Because it certainly doesn't feel that there's no self energy around. Like I mean, I can even connect with this exile. I could connect with it right now and feel maybe like 50% connected to it. It's just the other 50% that this part is holding back.
Yeah. And does it like its job?
Not really. It's a lot of work. Parts get mad at it. And it doesn't like holding me back from my truth or whatever. So, nah, it just feels like it has to.
What would it rather be doing if it didn't have to work so hard?
Well, it would rather be fully sort of allied with like my authenticity and enjoy only protecting me from people that really got on its nerves.
Yeah.
People who are obviously untrustworthy. It would sort of relish stepping in at that point, but it doesn't want to have to protect me from myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess that's the goal here is for us to help it relax.
Mm-hmm.
Again, even if you're only able to increase or decrease its burden by 1%, or get to know exiles a little bit.
Yeah.
I know that might feel like, well, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it if I'm not going all the way, but these things do build on themselves.
Yeah. No, you're right.
As parts keep trusting you, that they can usually trust you more and more if you keep going back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely true.
Does it still feel blended with you?
Partially. Like, I don't think it's going to let me completely contact the exile like 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what we've done is gotten it interested in the advantages of letting go on this issue, even if it's not doing that a lot yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when we reevaluated its job just now, it got kind of really excited about being able to protect me from actual threats instead of just obscuring my view of things.
Yeah. And how does it see you? I mean, sometimes I ask, how old does it think you are? But there's that. There's also just how does it notice you?
Oh, yeah, it kind of sees me as sort of like a bumbling idiot, I guess, who just blurt stuff out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And who has the wrong emotions about the wrong things.
Right.
Yeah.
And is it true that there is a part or parts of you that bumble and blurt?
Yeah.
Or have?
So.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think it's as bad as the way this part sees it, but I used to be a really awkward child, so obviously, yeah.
So see if you can just kind of more show it who you really are and let it know that those are parts.
I think I just caught it trying to intervene on my own contact with it, which is very funny. Also, I think the one that thinks I'm always making everything up had a little piece to say about like all this mental imagery. But what I did also get just now is that that it is excited about me not being as bumbling and embarrassing as I used to be. Like, it's like, oh yeah, you're kind of like cooler now a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if authenticity is cool and getting to know parts and getting more in touch with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could all be part of the coolness project.
I do think getting to know parts is very cool.
Super cool. All right. Does it have anything else that it wants to share or needs from you, especially if we are deciding to contact the exile in this conversation?
What I'm mostly getting is like, it doesn't want to pretend like it's going to step back completely, but it also doesn't want us to, for lack of a better word, give up on it, because it does feel like this conversation has been helpful. And so it's grateful. Yeah. It's expressing gratitude.
Yeah. And by give up on it, you mean like not ever return to it or just kind of be done with it?
More like it just doesn't want us to have a feeling that nothing changed from this conversation, even if it doesn't step back as much as we want.
Yeah. And how do you feel towards it as you hear that from it?
I feel good.
Yeah, me too.
Appreciate it. Seems like a nice part.
It is a nice part. It's a nice part. It's worked very hard.
It has. It has.
It's protecting from very real things.
Mm-hmm. It has. It is.
I know I haven't said this in this conversation of just the reminder that anything that you were to share with me well, you don't have to share anything with me. We can cut out any part of the call, all of that.
Yeah. Well, it's good to know.
Yeah.
I don't feel so far like anything has been objectionable, but I will let you know.
Okay. So, how do you feel about turning towards that exile now?
Sounds great to me.
Okay. And this part's cool with it?
Yeah, it's
taking
just
the step back.
Like it may step in, but it's
Right.
full with us doing
Excellent.
what we can. Yeah.
Okay. Thank that part.
Thank you, part.
Now the exile.
Yeah. Yeah. And the exile is very physical. The shame part is pretty is more cognitive, I think, than the exile. Because the exile is just this clear blockage in my chest, like Dick Schwartz always talks about his heart and how he senses when it's blocked or calloused or tough or whatever, and my heart feels constantly that way.
Yeah. So you're able to see it and notice it doing that now?
Yes.
Or being in that way?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just let it know that you see how difficult that is. And how you can feel it. You can feel how strong it is.
Yeah. Yeah. What comes to mind is that I chastise myself a lot for not doing enough, for not getting up at the time I want to get up, or sleeping too much or whatever. And at the same time, it makes sense that I would have trouble with those things if I have this really heavy weight inside me all the time.
Yeah. And how are you feeling now towards that part?
I feel reassured that I can always find it, even though I obviously don't want it to be in pain, but it's just what comes to mind is the doubting part is like, oh, this is some proof.
Yes. Great. Okay.
So
and how do you feel towards the exile?
The exile.
The heaviness.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't feel afraid of it. It just feels like it's there. Let me see. All right. Now the exile noticed me and it's happy that I'm back. And I feel good that it's happy.
Yeah. How do you feel towards it?
I'm still worried that I won't be able to help it.
Okay. So let's address that part.
Yeah.
Let's hear more about that concern.
I think that concern part just stepped back a little, actually.
Yeah. I had another idea, which was to just ask the exile if it thinks that you have any capacity to help it.
Oh yeah, let me see. Well, it says that me just being there helps it.
Yeah.
I think that's the concern, is that it just needs me to always be there, and I can't always be there because that's just impossible.
Yeah, I've heard that. I mean, that makes sense to me. I've heard that with other people, and I've felt that way.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have a good response for that. I don't know. I think about it like it's an internal family, you know, and if these are little children inside of you, then each of them does need kind of a certain amount of presence. And the more they can trust you, the more they can trust you when you are in the other room, you know?
Yeah.
The more they feel like you understand them.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm concerned that I won't know when it needs me and when it's trying to get my attention. Because I clearly ignored it for this long, you know?
Well, did you ignore it? I mean, you've said it's been ever present and you have this heaviness all the time or often.
That's true. That's true. I guess then maybe the concern is that, just if it's constantly upset, then other parts are going to make me tune it out because they'll feel like they have no choice. And then I'll feel guilty for abandoning a child.
Right. Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a criticism when I contact this exile that comes up that's like, yeah, you're talking to it now. But like, you know, you're just gonna get it attached to you, and then you're gonna like leave it alone for, you know, however long, and it'll be abandoned again. So like, who are you to even do this?
Yeah. And how do you respond to that?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily the most accurate perspective, but because obviously people do learn to take care of their parts reasonably well. So there must be a way. But at the same time, I don't really know what that way is, because it mathematically kind of doesn't make sense to me that people can just care for all of these parts at once all the time.
Yeah.
So I just wonder how that works.
Okay. That's a valid, reasonable concern, I think. I think of the project as self-leadership.
Yeah.
And we come to know and to love our parts, and that enables us to lead them.
Yeah.
And so again, it's like being in a different room, or I'm away at work, the kids are home. Do I still love them? Am I versus am I still leading this family?
Yeah.
Can they still contact me? Do they trust me? So again, I don't really have a really strong answer. I don't want to bullshit you. I've heard explanations for that about being with them all the time, and I don't know how much I subscribe to that or
Yeah.
say, yeah, you can be there all the time. I don't know. But I know that you can have their trust all the time.
Interesting. Yeah. And I guess if they trust you, you must be doing something right.
Yeah. And if they can contact you when there's a problem or when they have any needs,
Yeah.
then you have a working relationship.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at any rate, the concern part, I mean, it knows that like what else are we gonna do? Ignore it forever? Like that's not an option. So
Right. Yeah, it's going to be with you no matter what. It's just,
yeah.
are you going to get to know it or not?
Yeah. It's like I may as well try to make it happy, because it's not going to be happy if I don't pay attention to it at all. So yeah. Okay. Well.
Okay.
See if I can reach it again, I guess.
Just want to find out about it, learn about what it's been like for it.
Yeah.
Just stay curious.
Mm-hmm. It's just really overstimulated is kind of the feeling. Like it feels like it's dragged along all the time and just exhausted.
And what's that been like for it?
Really hard, painful. It just doesn't get to experience much joy or relaxation. It feels like if you just took like a 2-year-old or something and dragged them around to like every adult thing that you have and keep it out until midnight and make it get up at 7 a.m. Like just make it follow a productive adult schedule, but it's 2 years old. That's how it feels.
Yeah. And was it like that for you for this part as a 2-year-old? Does it have things it wants to show you about the reality of that experience? Memories?
Um
You don't have to share them with me.
yeah, no.
Just ask it.
Yeah. What it was just talking about is kind of the way it feels right now. I'm trying to see. Well, it remembers being pressured in school a lot. And that's not a 2-year-old thing. That's like an elementary school thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. And elementary, well, yeah. It remembers being pushed by parents and teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are you all right just letting it show you more about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just let it know you really want to understand what it was like.
Mm-hmm.
Just stay with it.
Yeah, I thought it had to do all these things all the time. And it still thinks that because there are still parts that are always pushing it the same way that it was pushed when I was a kid.
Yeah, so it has these beliefs about itself that it always has to do things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just, it's like I get no rest.
Yeah.
No, I get no actual happiness. Like I never get to feel good.
How do you feel towards it as you learn that about it?
Well, it just makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
That is how I feel. So I like that it's telling the truth.
How are you being with this part? Do you see it or just sense it?
So I feel it physically like a ball in my chest, and I see these memories. Sometimes I'll be like imagining like a crying child or whatever, although it seems like it almost started out as a really little kid, and now it might be in like elementary school age or something.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they do change ages sometimes. And also when I think of it, I kind of tend to think about one of the first times I made contact with it, where I was just standing in a restaurant waiting for food. And I was just like, wow, this is inside me all the time. And I didn't know.
Yeah. And when you see it crying, or, I mean, right now, do you see that pained energy that it has?
I think I more feel it than see. I
Sure,
don't think
feel
I
it. Mm-hmm.
see a crying child, but yeah. I do feel it. Although it's lessening now a little bit. Like it is helping it to express all this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just
yeah. So even though you're not, necessarily seeing it, is there a way that you can deepen your access if it feels right to kind of get closer to it, to offer it some closeness, some warmth?
yeah. I guess just telling it like I'm here with it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of my parts respond well to that. Yeah. It feels like it likes that. Describe it like the physical feeling changes.
We were talking about figuring out how to heal it. Maybe you could just ask it if it knows what it needs to heal.
Let's see. There's kind of a feeling of you're like you can't make it happen. It would be too much for the system. It's kind of a feeling of like you can't handle what I have to say.
Yeah.
And that makes sense to me because I feel that there are parts that I don't think that they'll freak out if they hear what it has to say, but I think they'll try to deny it and kind of keep going the same way as always.
Yeah. It's very wise of this part.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're detecting and have detected these other parts that are concerned about that.
Yeah, because the manager wants me to achieve things. And if the exile has something to say that gets in the way of ever achieving a certain amount, then it's not going to be happy.
Yeah. Yeah. You could let it know that you've seen how these other parts have been hard on it.
Yeah.
And have kept it distant from you.
Yeah.
And that it doesn't have to share anything it doesn't trust trust you with right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the other parts are expressing concerns, I guess, and at the same time as the exile, the exile's attitude is kind of more like I could tell you, but you won't give it to me. And there's no point, like kind of that nothing helps vibe. Like,
yeah.
And the other parts are kind of like, yeah, we're not gonna just go along with you just doing the bare minimum in life and not accomplishing any of your dreams. Like, we're not okay with that. And then myself, I think, kind of has this perspective of like, well, probably we can achieve our dreams and also unburden this exile. Like, I'm sure there's a way, but we just don't know what it is until we find out.
There, you said bare minimum.
Yeah.
These parts are seeing you're working with the exile as being a minimum of.
Yeah, they have a fear that if left to my own devices, I'll have like a life, like I'll do enough to not be homeless and eat some food every day, but that I won't do the really important things, like actually excel at my job and do creative projects and be really cool and impress people.
Yeah, and they see that as connected with your ability to heal and work with and provide for this exile.
They, yeah, because they fear that my true self is just lazy.
Oh.
Which I don't think that's true, but these parts do.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing parts work right now.
Yeah.
It's work.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess I don't follow, and it doesn't need to make sense to me, but I don't understand how it's connected that laziness. I don't understand how that would be connected to the work you're doing right now, which is trying to get to know this exile. I do understand that fear about if you then disregard it,
Mm-hmm.
or like you can't keep up with it.
Getting to know it will confirm that I am inherently lazy. Like, because if the exile just says, what I need to feel better is for you to just coast and, and I'm never going to be okay with putting in extra effort. They're afraid of that.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe you could just check that out with the exile. I mean, if you feel like you can mediate that conversation, and you could ask it, like, if it would like to see you not do anything in your life.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's hard to get a clear read. Yeah, I think it also doesn't really want that to be true, but maybe it doesn't even know. I don't know. it wants to be able to relax and be okay. And it thinks that, yeah, I think like that's kind of the shame that it carries, is that it feels that what it needs conflicts with what society actually demands from me. And so it feels like its needs will never be met.
Right. It's the beauty of the inner work versus the outer work.
Yeah.
And all of the richness and all of the, for lack of a better word, the secrets you can have in you.
Yeah.
Whether that's joy or depression or whatever is going on internally that doesn't necessarily need to show up out in the world. I mean, obviously, like we were talking about earlier, it's hard to have a full, curtain divider of inner and outer, but getting to know a part and having a part say it wants to hang out at the beach and color all day doesn't mean that you go to the beach and color all day.
Yeah.
It's just learning about that part of you.
Yeah.
And validating it and saying, yeah, I get it.
It's true.
Part of me wants to go to the beach and color. And kind of taking the shame and the helping those other parts relax and not fight that so much. Because again, you're the leader.
Yeah, that's true. There's just a worry that I'll be doing it wrong if I don't make the exile happy, and that making the exile happy requires such and such sacrifice.
It doesn't.
Yeah, and I also think that this debate that the exile versus the manager is having is like a really false dichotomy, because I don't think that all I actually want to do is sit around all day. I just think that this exile is so exhausted that it's and it has such a distorted perception because of what was sort of beaten into it at a young age, that it just associates work with pain. But I don't think that association has to continue. But that's just a shame that it carries.
Right. Yeah, you can help it with that.
Yeah, I would like to.
And you can continue to be that mediating voice between the manager and between this exile. There's always, all the parts are going to compete.
Yes.
It's kind of the beauty of that tension of the system.
This is true. Keep each other in check.
Yeah. So the exile was saying it doesn't feel like you can handle the truth, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It thinks it's like what damn, I just had a thought. I think I lost it. But yeah, just the amount of pain it feels about the burdens that have been heaped on it. It doesn't know how it enjoy life and still meet any expectation.
Yeah. It's just a child, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just been so hounded.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what we want to help it with, is the idea, the belief that you would have expectations of it.
Yeah. Yeah. There was never a moment when I was a kid where I didn't feel guilty about something I wasn't getting done.
Just stay with that. Stay with how that feels. And if it's okay, if you can show this part that you can witness these feelings and not be overwhelmed by them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't feel overwhelmed by that. That just feels true to me.
Yeah, it's been true. It's been true for this part. This part still carries that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is unfair. Like it was messed up that it didn't get a break.
Right.
And I don't think anyone in my life was intending to literally never give me a break, but the way that it happened was just, it was
Right.
always like, you know, it's 9 p.m., it's 10 p.m., you still haven't done your homework.
Right.
And maybe I hadn't done my homework, but I had sure been thinking about the homework the entire time, thinking about it when I went to bed, thinking about it the moment I woke up. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can just see how hard that's been.
Yeah. That's a huge, huge chunk of my childhood that was just joyless because of that feeling.
And can you imagine changing that relationship internally? Can you imagine having a relationship with that part without the expectations?
Yeah.
And maybe imagine that with it, of what that would look like.
Well, what comes to mind is that nobody should ever be expected to be burdened by guilt 24/7. That's absurd.
Yeah. Can you say that to the part and show that to the part?
Yeah. And
I mean, it's not absurd for the part to feel that way, right? It's just
right.
that's unfair.
Yeah, it's unfair.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's right.
And that you don't want to treat it that way.
No. And there's no reason why I should have to treat it that way. Like there's no reason.
Try asking what it needs from you to feel like it can tell you the whole story, share all of its.
I think it does feel more like it can share now. Because there's just that whole thing of it didn't realize that 24/7 stuff really just never has to be part of the equation and that it was unfair. And now that it knows that, it's definitely feeling more reassured than before. So what else? Let me see what else it has to say.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't want me to forget about this. Like, I'm definitely getting feelings and sort of half ideas from it, but it's hard to articulate.
Hey, half ideas are great. And if there's any support I can give you in, if this part's worried that you'll forget something, or, we can work that out. Maybe those manager parts can help us make a project out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, just let it share with you however it wants. Half ideas are fine. Doesn't need to be articulate.
Yeah. And also I have a Don't Burden James manager coming in that's like, well, it's been over an hour. Like,
has it? I haven't checked the clock.
Okay. Well, just please let me know if and when you are finished. Don't be afraid to interrupt. I
can go all night. I mean,
okay.
I don't have anywhere to be. Cool. I'm enjoying this, so
awesome.
I would leave it up to you, and I don't expect you to. It's wherever your energy is.
Yeah, well, I definitely don't have anything else going on either. So
yeah, but yeah, if it does feel like had enough, or it's feeling exhausted, or you're feeling exhausted, or whatever, that's fine too.
That's not the case. I was just like, be polite.
Yeah, no, it's not even crossed my mind.
Cool. Let's see. Well, the exile is excited now that it realizes that the previous expectation that it had felt was placed upon it is just like legitimately really unfair and never something that anybody should have to deal with. Like it's glad to hear that, because it thought that its needs were at odds with society. And
yeah. And there may be elements of society that have those expectations. Yes. But it doesn't have to be exposed to them. Yeah,
that was just the thought I was having. It's like, yeah, like maybe some people do want me to feel that way, but it's like, no, absolutely not. It's,
right.
Yeah. Not something that the courage part of self will allow.
Yeah. To have more it wants to share with you. Just let it know you really want to understand how it's been for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. There's kind of a sadness, like of loss, because it spent so much time feeling so bad.
Yeah.
And it, like, definitely some of its childhood was taken away from.
Yeah. And you all right just sitting with that too?
Yeah.
It is sad.
It is sad, yeah. Yeah, it's just expressing the sad. It was definitely lonely. Nobody sticking up for it. Actually, there was there was someone sticking up for it, but it was really just the defiant part that would clap back at my dad, and that was it. That was the only
Right.
person.
Right. Protectors.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if it has you to go to, and if you stick up for it and you hold the space for it, then
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it finally has an adult to stick up for it, which it did not have before.
right. Yes. Yeah. Earlier you were concerned about not being able to communicate with it, not knowing how to help it.
Mm-hmm.
How's that feeling now?
Yeah, less so, although heart still wonder if this good feeling I have now will stick later, but I mean, they're not.
I mean, you're going to have bad feelings in the future.
Yeah, but they're worried that my life won't, that tomorrow it'll be like this never happened or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's important to keep an eye out for, and to find ways to keep the connection alive.
Yeah.
But when it comes to your qualifications, your competence in understanding this exile, even though maybe the ideas it's sharing with you are half ideas, even if it's not articulate, and your ability to respond to it, and I mean, yeah, your ability to say, wait, that is unfair, and there's no doubt in your mind, there's no doubt in the way that you're able to interpret its emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guessing you can check this out with the exile, that is a big part of what it needed and needs.
Mm-hmm.
It said,
it certainly seems to be.
Here's an adult, right? That was a new thing, right?
Yeah, it has legitimacy now. It's not just crying about something that everybody else thinks is nothing.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I have, like the way I feel about the expectations that were placed on me, like I've been changing my perspective on that for a long time, but I think it just hadn't all made it to this exile.
Right. So, what would you like to do next? Should we invite it to go through some of those other stages of an unburdening, check if that's okay with it? Should we stay with it as it's being? Should we discuss ways to get back to this place? If that's the main concern, is that, yeah.
What's this place?
This place of being in communication with this exile and learning about it, and being present.
Yeah, I would just like to be present and learn about it more, because I'm still getting a feeling of like sadness from it. So I don't think it's ready to let go.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great intuition. It's very important to witness it fully.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to unburden it fully.
Yes. So let me see if it, what else.
There's something that came up in our last conversation Might not have been this exile. I remember you said was a toddler before.
Yeah.
There's something about the feeling around your mother also.
Yeah, I definitely have feelings around her, but she was sort of not there at all when all this stuff was going down. Like, she was there, but she wasn't like a oh yeah, so I remember the conversation we had last time about how
just check with this exile if any of that is relevant to it, if it wants to share any of that with you now.
Oh yeah, it's a little bit sad that my mom didn't intervene. Like, my mom really just did nothing. Like, she didn't discipline me, she didn't yell at me, she didn't say do your homework, but she didn't say anything. And that's kind of sad.
Yeah. See if you can learn more about that sadness.
Yeah, she just
hear it from the exile, what it was
there's
like.
a sense that she didn't care.
Yeah, what was that like for the exile, for this part? To feel like she didn't care?
Well, it was painful. It was lonely. It was kind of just the way things were in a lot of aspects. So it wasn't surprising, but it was just an emotional void that almost got took for granted over the years. Like, the exile never expected her to do anything.
And do you have that same reaction of unfairness, or?
It is unfair.
Yeah.
But I also have the perspective to know that she was really depressed and she didn't intend to do that.
Sure.
Yeah. But that definitely doesn't invalidate the exile's feeling.
Right.
So yeah, it completely makes sense to feel that way for sure. Like, it just strikes me how like alone the exile was. Because no one ever said, like, no one ever had that sympathy until I was in therapy when I was 21, and the therapist was like, hey, like, nobody actually supported you. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. But until then, nobody did anything to step in and suggest that I was being unfairly attacked all the time.
Yeah. And are you hearing this and seeing this from the exile, from its emotional experience of that?
Yeah, I definitely feel the presence of it still. But I'm going back and forth between sort of feeling and narrating, I guess. But yeah, it senses the loneliness.
And how does it feel?
Sorry. Well, I was just saying that, like, I'm enjoying the, like, narrating it. There's like a storytelling part that is like, yeah, go exile. I'm gonna represent you. So
Right.
it feels happy to help out.
Ask the exile if that helps it out.
The exile seems to be on board, yeah.
Okay. I mean, does it feel like, again, assuming that the exile knows what it needs to heal?
Yeah.
Check with the exile how much of that it needs to heal compared to the other side you described, which is feeling it and witnessing it.
It is validating to it to have things spoken aloud like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Just want to fine tune that ratio if need be.
Yeah, I think it's a good ratio right now. But
great. Yeah.
But it is good to also remind myself to come back to it, not get too distracted. But yeah, it was lonely.
Earlier, it said that it didn't feel like you could kind of handle all that it needed to show you.
I think it feels less like that now.
Yeah. And when it thinks about all that it needed to show you, like, how close are you to that?
I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if it knows. But it's definitely like a not yet. And it actually said something to me just now, which was a feeling of like nobody thought I was doing a good job. Nobody thought I was adequate. And that was painful. Nothing was like good enough. There was a feeling of it being doomed. Like nothing it did was ever enough. Right. There was no way to keep people happy.
And are you still able to receive all that without blending with it, while maintaining that kind of sense of and that wasn't fair. That was
that definitely wasn't fair. Like it's really crushing to have to be a child and feel like you can never do anything right. and to not know why.
So I don't want to rush any of what this part has to share with you. It sounds like it has a lot to share with you, and
Yeah.
that you're doing a great job of receiving it.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to talk with me about doing that on your own in the future, or
Yeah, I think.
Or would that be important for the part to feel like, because I know that this part and others are concerned about, not keeping it up or forgetting about it. So,
yeah, I think just I'm really excited to unburden this part and continue listening to it. So
yes.
I want to keep doing that before our next session. And so
Yeah.
yeah, and I don't want to rush it. So
and this is unburdening the part. I mean,
yeah.
It's sharing its burdens. You're getting to know them more deeply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my perception of unburdening was originally a little bit skewed because all of the examples of unburdening that they show take like 2 seconds.
Yeah, and who knows? A lot of times, at least with calls with me, someone could have that experience and then I never hear from them again. Who knows what really is going on.
Yeah.
So it's hard to compare, and I apologize for if I've that's why I want to put so much out there. It's like, here's how it works for this person, here's how it works for that person.
Yeah. Wait, what do you mean you apologize? I don't think you apologize.
I just mean if I would be feeling apologetic if I'm only demonstrating, well, not enough. Yeah, I want to demonstrate as much as possible. So.
Oh, yeah. No, I wasn't even really thinking about your podcast as an example of that, because I know that you do have these long-term connections with people. But I'm just talking about like when you read books or like watch YouTube videos, they can only fit so much into 10 minutes.
Right. And also there's value in, again, if you think of unburdening as a process, then even 10 minutes of it is part of the process. So
it's true.
Yeah. And what you've done with this part today is part of the process. So
yeah, it definitely feels different. My body feels different.
Yeah.
Not completely, but it's definitely been changing as I've been talking about all this stuff.
Right. How was the cringe detector?
The cringe detector is feeling fine because I haven't had any real like impulses to have an emotional outburst. So
and you're having this physical change and connection with this part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cringe detector still might not do so well if I ran into a part. Even though for, my thinking on, I would actually personally love to have the experience of being emotionally overwhelmed by a part with compassion and feeling all of its pain and crying for it. Like, that sounds great. So like to myself, but yeah, this cringe part, like, might have a problem with that. But it doesn't seem like that needs to happen right now in order to keep connecting with the exile. So it's happy.
Yeah. I don't know. I think you can. It's interesting that you chose the words overwhelmed with compassion. Like, I don't know. What if you just were compassionate and not overwhelmed? I mean, maybe.
Well, yeah, that's how I feel now.
Maybe your journey doesn't need to have the overwhelm part.
Yeah, maybe not.
Right?
Yeah.
It's usually something we're kind of steering away from. So.
Yeah. Yeah. But I just mean like you hear about people
Yeah. Good for them.
crying and and being totally fine because they're in self, but still just shedding the emotions of the exile. I think that's cool. That shame part is
super
like
cool.
Little
it's
awkward.
Very cool. We all have our different coolnesses.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I think that I believe, I don't know if you can or if someone can go through this process without shedding a tear, right? Like, there are people who can do IFS and not do that. So
yeah,
we're all different.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been an easy crier, so I think some of that is protectors, but another part of it might just be biology.
Sure. Was there something that we were going to discuss about?
Yes.
Or that you would like to, or this part would like to, about going forward?
Yeah, I want to keep unburdening it this week.
Mm-hmm. Concerns about how to get there or what to do when you get there?
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about how I'll know when it's time, but I mean, I feel like I'm answering my own question, like the exile will tell me. I can sense that it's not ready. So, like when it's time to let it all go to the element. Or like,
sure.
The exile is telling me now that it's not ready. So clearly it can tell me when it is ready.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And then
I was concerned about. Go ahead.
Oh, just like how will I know? Like if it does decide to let go of it, how will I know when it's gone? But again, it'll probably know, and all I have to do is listen.
Yep. Yeah, and again, like, what's the worst case scenario? Okay, well, we didn't get it all done. Okay, we'll go back and do it. Or there's more to do. Okay.
Yeah. And then there's like, how will I know if my life is different, if it really helped me at all?
Well, we need the manager and the tracker. We need to track that, right?
Yeah.
That's for your therapist and you, I think. You guys can work on that.
Yeah, they will definitely analyze. And there will be disappointment if things don't change, so they're afraid of that. But I mean,
I think it's great to keep some data, right?
Yeah.
Because we want to know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to hear that that's not a foolish concern, I guess. Yeah.
I track how I feel every morning when I wake up. And a bunch of other things.
It's cool. I had a mood tracker for a while, but I was trying to do like one entry per day, and I eventually was just like, how do I say how I felt over an entire day? That's impossible. So I stopped. But I guess you can't really do that. You have to just do it in the moment.
Yeah. I also track my mood for every IFS call I've had.
That's neat. Like, do you do it after or before or both?
Right after. Yeah, I say, how was I feeling? A lot of times I'll be feeling sick or feeling wonderful. and then when I review the call later, I can say, oh yeah, I didn't feel good going into it, or I did. Anyway.
That's neat.
this part was concerned you might forget about it.
Yeah. I mean, I have, I think the exile is concerned, and I also have protectors. They're definitely like, you're just going to abandon it again. But they're feeling like better than they were about that.
You've been doing parts work pretty much every day, right? For the past few weeks?
I have, yeah. But not like, for long periods of time necessarily, but I've been connecting with them pretty, consistently.
Is there anything that you feel like you need to add or change to not forget about this part?
No, I feel like actually forgetting about this part is not really going to happen, because I can always so reliably feel it in there. What might happen is I'll just feel stalled with it, like I did. Like, am I helping? Am I doing anything? I'm contacting it, but to what end? That kind of.
And just to check, did this feel like more than contacting it? This
felt like progress. So I just want to make sure I can keep that up.
All right. Well, you can keep calling and talking with me, so that will remain an option.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anything else? Any other concerns to address? Any other parts that are up around that?
I don't think so.
Okay. Good job.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful night. And
you too.
I'll look forward to hearing from you next time.
I look forward to it too. Thanks so much for your help as always.
Okay. See ya. Bye.
Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows, that might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube. And they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.